What happened when I faced my fears at home? Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. The first thing I saw in the basement wasn't dust or old paint. It was a fresh LED work light already on. I stopped on the second-to-last step, fingers biting into the railing. The beam cut across the concrete like a spotlight on a crime scene, bright enough to show a neat path through the clutter. I hadn't turned anything on. I hadn't even flipped the basement switch upstairs. "Okay," I said to the empty air. "Okay, Jamie." I was back because my mom died in October, and the house came to me, along with her unpaid taxes, a roof that sagged near the chimney, and a realtor's timeline that didn't care about grief. Dana, my aunt, told me bluntly, "Sell it, clear it, move on." Rory, my sibling, my perpetual ghost, texted once, "Do what you want. I'm busy." The listing agreement had a penalty if I pulled it now. The attorney warned me the estate bills didn't pause for mourning. So I took a week off work, drove 6 hours to the suburb I'd spent a decade avoiding, and unlocked the door with a key that still felt wrong in my hand. The open house was set for next Saturday. 7 days to empty a lifetime and make the place look harmless. It wasn't harmless to me. When I was 9, I got locked in the little storage room behind the furnace, what Mom called the back room. I remember the latch clicking and the dark swallowing me. I remember screaming until my throat felt peeled. I remember Mom opening the door and saying, like I'd spilled juice, "What is your problem?" After that, I avoided basements like they were sinkholes. As an adult, I built my life around wide windows, exits, and never being trapped. But the inspection report needed furnace access. The realtor wanted photos. And a small, stubborn part of me was sick of being afraid of my own address. I forced myself down the last steps. The air smelled clean, not damp cardboard and rust, clean, like citrus spray. The LED light hummed softly, as if it had been waiting. Then I noticed the extension cord. It lay perfectly straight across the floor, leading to the backroom door. The cord vanished under the backroom door, and I hadn't plugged it in. The basement smell, citrus, and something electrical, hit a nerve I didn't know still existed. My throat tightened the same way it did when I was 9 and the door clicked shut. Back then, Mom had told me to grab the Christmas lights from the basement. Rory was upstairs, laughing at some cartoon, the kind of laugh that made you want to be included. I wanted to be included, so I ran down the steps fast, pretending I wasn't scared. The back room was always darker than it should have been, even with the bulb on. Mom had a habit of stacking boxes in front of the pull chain like darkness was more convenient. I remember finding the lights, a tangled mess in a plastic tote, and then hearing footsteps behind me. Adult footsteps. Slow. The air shifted, like someone had leaned into the doorway. "Mom," I called. The latch clicked. I spun and shoved at the door. It didn't budge. At first I thought it was stuck, like old wood swelling. Then I heard a second sound, metal against metal, a quick scrape, like something sliding into place. That's the part one used to replay. My hands pounding, my nails splitting, my screaming turning into hiccups. I'd tell myself it was a prank. That Rory had done it. That Mom didn't understand. That any second she'd open the door, laugh, apologize. But in the memory I hated most, the one I tried to bury, Mom's voice came through the door, flat and close. "You're fine," she said. "Stop it." Not "I'm coming." Not "I'm sorry." Just stop it, like my fear was misbehavior. Today, standing in the basement with a modern work light humming, I had to admit something I'd spent years not admitting. Rory was 8. Rory couldn't have slid a bolt like that. Rory couldn't have held the door while I fought it. I stared at the backroom door now, its paint scabbed from old scratches, and noticed fresh ones near the knob. New gouges, pale wood showing through. My chest prickled with heat and shame. I backed up, forcing air into my lungs. "You're an adult," I told myself. "Open it." My hand reached for the knob anyway, and the moment my fingers touched it, the LED light behind me flickered. Once, twice, like a warning. Something on the other side tapped back, softly, in 3 slow knocks. I yanked my hand away like the knob had burned me. The knocks didn't repeat. The basement went still again, except for the light's faint buzz and the refrigerator upstairs cycling on. I didn't open the door. I told myself that was sensible, not cowardice. I climbed back up, locked the basement door, and leaned against it until my heartbeat stopped trying to sprint. The rest of the day, I worked like a machine. Trash bags to the curb. Donate piles in the living room. Counters wiped down until they looked less like my mom and more like a listing photo. Every so often I'd catch a whiff of citrus from the hallway and my stomach would twist. Dana called around 4. How's it going? Fine. I said too fast. You sound tight. It's just a lot of house. Remember what I said? She replied. Don't poke at old stuff alone. After we hung up, I forced myself into practical tasks, sorting mail, checking breakers, making a list for the hardware store. That's when I found the first thing that didn't fit. My mom's front door lock had been changed. I noticed because the key I'd brought worked, but it scraped like it was being tolerated. The deadbolt was new and shiny compared to the weathered handle below it. I knelt and examined the screws. The heads were bright, unscarred. Whoever installed it had done it recently. Mom hadn't mentioned it. Dana hadn't, either. I told myself it was normal. People get nervous. People lose keys. People forget to tell their children things. Then I opened the hall closet to grab the vacuum and saw a line of dust-free floor where something heavy had been dragged out and not replaced. The closet smelled of that same citrus cleaner, sharper in the enclosed space. And when I pushed the door wider, I saw the old metal lockbox Mom kept for important papers was gone. The lockbox was the kind that survived a flood. It had always been there. I stood there, vacuum in hand, staring at the empty patch of closet floor like it was a missing tooth. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked, slow and deliberate, over the room where I stood. I waited, holding my breath, listening for another creak. Nothing. The house settled, and I hated how quickly my brain tried to explain it away. Old houses pop. You're jumpy because you're grieving. Still, I shut the closet and carried the vacuum like a weapon through every room, checking corners I hadn't checked since childhood. Nobody. No open windows. No unlocked doors. Just faded wallpaper and my own reflection in dark glass. I called Dana and told her about the new lock and the missing lockbox. Jamie, she said, voice lower. Your mom didn't change that lock. I would have known. So who did? A long exhale. She had people. Folks who offered help. Sometimes she let them. Who? Start with the neighbor, Dana said. Mr. Harlan always had opinions. The name landed like a cold coin. Mr. Harlan lived next door, the kind of man who waved too hard and asked too many questions. When I was little, he'd call me kiddo and touch my shoulder like he owned the space between us. By nightfall, I couldn't stand not knowing. I went to the basement door again and did breathing the way my therapist taught me. Count in, hold, count out, until my hands shook less. I turned the knob. Open. The basement stairs yawned down, and the LED light glowed faintly below, still on. Just look, I told myself. Don't be dramatic. I descended, step by step, fighting the urge to run back up. At the bottom, the clean smell was stronger, like someone had sprayed recently. I followed the extension cord to the backroom door. The door had a new padlock clasp screwed into it. Not outside where a kid would notice. On the inside edge, visible only from the basement side, as if someone wanted it secured while keeping the upstairs looking normal. The screws were bright. Fresh work. My hands went numb. I crouched and saw a thin line of dust disturbed beneath the door, like something had been slid in and out. Behind me, the basement door at the top of the stairs clicked shut quietly. I didn't run. Panic makes you sloppy, and sloppy gets you hurt. I climbed the stairs slowly, listening for breath or movement. At the top, the basement door opened with a normal, innocent squeak. No lock engaged. Just closed, like it had always closed. I stood there sweating, furious at myself for being afraid of a door. The next morning, Mr. Harlan was on my porch. Jamie, he said, too familiar. Sorry about your mother. Thanks, I replied. How did you know I was here? He gave a small shrug. Neighborhood talks. His gaze slid past me into the entryway, taking inventory. Cleaning up for a sale? I'm working on it. He nodded toward the new deadbolt. Good luck. Your mom asked me to put it in months ago. She worried about strangers. My mom never mentioned it. He smiled, almost kind. People don't tell their kids everything. Heat rose in my face. Did you take her lockbox? The one in the hall closet. His expression hardened for half a second, then softened again. Now why would I do that? I'm asking. You're grieving, he said, like he was diagnosing me. Grief turns the mind. That basement always did a number on you. I went cold. How do you know about the basement? His eyes stayed on mine too long. We all knew, kiddo. I shut the door on him and called Rory. For once, they answered. What? Rory said, already tired. Did you take Mom's lockbox? A pause, then a sigh. No. Jamie, just sell the house. Stop digging for drama. Someone's been using the basement. Rory laughed, sharp and mean. You're still scared of the basement? Get over it. The sting was immediate, childish. I hung up and called Dana. Don't confront Harlan, Dana said without preamble. And don't go down there alone. Promise me. I walked to the front door and stared at the doormat, thinking about all the times Mom had told me to check under it when I forgot my key. Under the mat, taped to the underside, was a flat brass key I'd never seen. The key didn't match the new front deadbolt. I tried anyway. It fit nothing in the house. I held it in my palm like an accusation, then did the only thing I could do without spiraling. I sat at my mom's kitchen table and looked for proof. Her mail was still here. I found the utility statements. The last one was dated September 18th, 2 weeks before she died. I expected a final month dip. Instead, the electric usage spiked, double, then triple again. The highest bars on the chart were between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. I logged into the online account using Mom's birthday because she'd never changed a password in her life. Recent activity glared back at me. A billing address update in August and a phone number I didn't recognize added as an authorized contact. I took screenshots, timestamps, account changes, everything too, because screenshots don't care about fear. They care about facts. Then I found a receipt tucked into the folder, folded small like it wasn't meant to be seen. Dated August 7th. Harlan Home Services. Install deadbolt/rekey interior door. Total, $186. 00. Paid in cash. Interior door. My mouth went dry. My eyes went to the basement door, and then, inevitably, to the backroom door behind the furnace. I snapped photos of the new class screws, close enough to show the shiny metal and the clean wood around it. If someone was using that room at night, the electric spike made sense. The citrus cleaner made sense. The missing lockbox made sense. What didn't make sense was why my mom would pay Mr. Harlan to secure a room that terrified me, and then hide the receipt. I texted Dana the screenshots. Her reply came fast. Don't go down there. I'm driving over tomorrow. I opened my notes app and wrote a list. County records, permits, locksmith, police non-emergency. Quiet investigation. No confrontation. That night, as I set my phone on the nightstand, a new login alert lit the screen. Someone had just accessed Mom's utility account again. Dana showed up the next morning with a travel mug and the kind of face that said she'd been awake, too. You look wrecked, she said. I found receipts. I replied and handed her my phone. Her jaw tightened as she scrolled. Your mom was proud, she murmured. But she was also easy to pressure. We went to the county records office because paper trails don't argue back. I asked for permits tied to my mom's address. The clerk printed a stapled stack and slid it over like it was nothing. Most of it was boring: roof patch, water heater, fence. Then Dana stopped at a line item and read it twice. Basement partition/storage build-out. Filed April 2002. My mouth went dry. April 2002 was the spring I was 9. The permit listed a contractor I didn't recognize, but the contact phone number was Mr. Harlan's. And the homeowner's signature looked like my mom's name written by someone trying not to get caught. Too shaky, too slow. That's not her, Dana said. She sounded sure in a way that made my skin prickle. We asked the clerk for the scanned application. While she queued it up, Dana made one more stop, the hardware store that sold keys and gossip. She showed the cashier the Harlan Home Services receipt and got a name, Gary, a locksmith who'd retired. Gary answered his door in slippers, suspicious until Dana said, Evelyn's sister. His face softened. Evelyn, he repeated, like it hurt. I asked, did you rekey an interior door at her house? Gary shook his head. Harlan did. Bought parts from me. Did he ask for duplicates? Dana said. Gary hesitated, then nodded once. Late evening in August. Said the homeowner was confused and kept losing keys. Wanted 3 copies. Paid cash. Told me not to log it. August. The receipt date exactly. Back in the car, Dana's phone pinged with an email from the county clerk. She opened the attachment and zoomed in on the signature line and the notary's stamp. The notarized signature was dated the day after Mom died. Dana spread the permit scans across my mom's kitchen table and circled the notary stamp in red. After she died, Dana said, voice flat. Someone filed paperwork after she died. My mind tried to sprint ahead. Harlan, keys, the lockbox, but Dana held up a finger. Facts, she reminded me. So we built them. Photos of the new deadbolt screws. Close-ups of the fresh padlock clasp on the backroom door. The dust track in the hall closet. I added screenshots from the utility portal showing the authorized contact phone number and the recent logins, each with a neat timestamp. Dana found one lonely page in a folder labeled insurance. A denial letter from June 2002. Claim rejected due to inconsistent statements. June 2002 was the summer my fear cemented itself into my bones. My phone rang from an unknown number. Jamie, a calm voice said, "This is Officer Kim. You called about suspicious account changes?" "Yes," I said, and summarized the screenshots, the cash receipt, the forged-looking signature on the permit. Officer Kim didn't sound surprised. "Utility accounts get used to prove residency," she said. "If someone's using your mother's name, it can feed into bigger fraud. Keep documenting. If you can safely capture someone entering, that helps." "Can I change the locks?" I asked. "Do it," she said. "But understand, if they have another access point, they'll adapt. Don't play hero." At the hardware store, Dana bought a cheap motion camera and 2 window alarms. We mounted the camera in the basement stairwell, aimed at the backroom door and the extension cord. I tested it by waving my hand. The app pinged instantly. "Let them get comfortable," Dana said. "Comfort makes people careless." We put the brass key in a labeled bag like it was evidence. Dana wrote the date on it in marker, December 12th, and taped it shut. The smallness of it made me furious. How many tiny decisions had happened in this house without me? That night, I lay awake in my childhood room listening to the house settle. Every creak sounded personal now, like the building had opinions. At 2:13 a.m., my new camera sent its first motion alert. The alert wasn't loud, but it snapped me awake like a slap. I found Dana in the hall, shoved my phone at her, and we watched the recorded clip with our shoulders touching. We stayed upstairs. Officer Kim's voice, "Don't play hero," sat heavy in the air. The basement door swung inward. A hooded figure moved down the steps without hesitation, like the house belonged to them. They crossed the floor in the exact straight line the extension cord followed. "They have a key," Dana breathed. At the backroom door, the person crouched low, out of the camera's best angle. The mic caught a soft scrape, metal sliding into place. My stomach folded in on itself. That scrape was the sound I'd heard at 9 and spent 20 years calling probably nothing. The figure didn't open the backroom door. Instead, they reached beside the furnace and pressed on a section of paneling I'd never questioned. It shifted. A narrow gap opened, just wide enough for an arm. They slid something into the gap, then pulled something out. An exchange, quick and practiced. Like a mailbox hidden inside my childhood fear. Dana paused the video and zoomed. Behind the panel edge was a strip of wallpaper, faded blue flowers, tiny sailboats. My mouth went dry because that wallpaper wasn't from my mom's house. It was from Mr. Harlan's basement. I remembered it suddenly, standing next door years ago, staring at those stupid sailboats while Mr. Harlan talked too close and Mom waited upstairs, telling me afterward I was being dramatic. I'd rewritten that memory the way you rewrite anything you can't stand. I told myself I'd never been in his basement. I told myself he was just a nosy neighbor. I told myself the only scary place was my own. Dana watched my face. "You recognize it," she said. "Next door," I whispered. I replayed the clip again and again, looking for anything that explained the ritual at the backroom door. On the third replay, I heard it, barely audible. 3 slow knocks, like a signal. In the grainy footage, the intruder tapped 3 times, exactly like my memory. By morning, the footage looked even worse. Daylight didn't make it less real. Dana emailed Officer Kim the clip and the permit scans. I drove to the post office to check Mom's box, because if someone was using her name, mail would show it. 2 sympathy cards sat on top of a bank pre-approval letter addressed to my mother, dated last week. I photographed it and put it back like it had never been touched. My hands shook the whole drive home. Mr. Harlan was waiting in my driveway, leaning on the fence like he belonged there. "Jamie," he called, waving slow. "Dana's car in town? Family support, huh?" I hadn't told him she was here. He'd noticed anyway. I stayed on the walkway. "What do you want?" He smiled like I'd asked about the weather. Just checking in. Folks are saying you're upset. Making calls. Digging through paperwork. Folks, I repeated. He stepped closer, still polite. Your mom was private. She wouldn't want accusations. Dana appeared behind me in the doorway. Mr. Harlan's eyes flicked to her and back. Dana, he said, sugary, sorry for your loss. Save it, Dana replied. He chuckled, like she was entertainment. I'm trying to help. There've been break-ins. Teenagers. If you're worried, I can keep an eye. People trust me. I've got spare keys to half the block. I don't, I said. For a split second the smile slipped, something hard showing through. Then it snapped back on. Careful, he said softly. Grief makes people irrational. You start accusing neighbors, you can get yourself in trouble. Dana stepped forward, threatening her. Reality, he corrected, still calm. And reality is, this house has been looked after for years. People forget that. People get ungrateful. His gaze drifted past us into the entryway. Too quick, too exact, like he was checking whether something had changed. Then he leaned in, voice friendly again, almost conspiratorial. It's a shame, he said, when families come back and stir up dust. I felt my resolve wobble. Stopping would be easy. Selling would be easy. Forgetting would be the easiest thing in the world. Mr. Harlan smiled and asked how my new camera was working. After Mr. Harlan left, Dana locked the door and stood with her back against it. He knows, I said. He suspects, Dana corrected. So we move fast, and we do it clean. Officer Kim called that afternoon. She'd watched the clip. Her voice stayed calm, but the words were sharper. You may be looking at trespass and fraud, she said. Possibly elder exploitation if documents were signed after death. I can't promise an arrest without clearer identification, but if you capture entry and the exchange with timestamps and a witness, we can act. So what's safest? Dana asked, taking the phone from me like she'd been born with authority. Officer Kim laid it out. No confrontation, no weapons, no gotcha stunts. Document. Witnesses. Call patrol to be nearby, and stay upstairs with doors locked. And get an inspector, she added. If there's a hidden access or unpermitted work, code enforcement can open things legally. A plan formed. Dana scheduled an HVAC inspection for the next morning. Official work order, official timestamp. So we had a legitimate reason to demand access to the furnace area. I confirmed the open house with the realtor because a deadline makes people careless. Dana also set her phone to record the living room clock whenever an alert hit, so the video would match the timestamps. We added cameras. One facing the basement door from the hallway, another hidden behind paint cans aimed at the furnace wall panel. Dana kept a notebook like she was building a case. Dates, times, screenshots, photos, anything with a stamp. Then we did the part that made my stomach twist. We didn't change the locks yet. Officer Kim's logic was blunt. If you change everything tonight, they may stop coming, she said. If they stop coming, we lose them. So we sat in the living room with the lights off, watching the camera feeds like we were babysitting a monster we weren't allowed to name. Dana squeezed my hand once. You're staying, she whispered. At 2:12 a.m., the alarm chirped, and the backroom clasp moved on its own. When the alert hit, Dana hit call on Officer Kim and pointed her phone camera at the wall clock for proof. Units close, Officer Kim said on speaker. Stay upstairs. Do not go down. On the feed, the hooded figures slipped into the basement like they were late for a shift. They crossed to the furnace wall, pressed the panel, opened the gap, and pulled out a thick envelope, rubber-banded. They swapped it for another and shoved it back. The hoodie shifted. The camera caught a profile, jawline, scar near the ear. My stomach dropped through the floor. That's Rory, I whispered. Before Dana could answer, red and blue light flashed through the living room curtains. A knock, firm. Police, Officer Kim called. Stay where you are. We stood at the top of the stairs while Officer Kim and another officer went down. I heard muffled commands, then Rory's voice, sharp, panicked, undeniable. Minutes later, Officer Kim came back up, face tight. We detained your sibling, she said, and we found a concealed access panel by the furnace. It leads into a crawl space cut through to the neighboring property. Mr. Harlan, Dana said. Officer Kim nodded. We're securing it. They brought Rory upstairs in cuffs, hoodie pushed back. Rory wouldn't look at me until I said their name. Why? My voice cracked on the single word. Officer Kim didn't wait for an answer. With Dana as witness, She opened the backroom door. The padlock clasp came off with a screwdriver. Fresh screws, clean wood. Inside, a dehumidifier hummed, plugged into the extension cord. Metal shelves lined the walls. On them, stacks of mail addressed to my mother and to names I didn't recognize. Bank letters dated after her death. Credit cards still in their cardboard carriers. Photocopied IDs. Notary stamp kit. A folder labeled POA with my mom's name misspelled. And my mom's missing lockbox, pried open and stuffed with papers. The room wasn't haunted. It was operational. My fear hadn't protected me. It had protected them. Rory's mouth worked like they were chewing glass. I didn't start it, they said. Harlan did. Years ago. Mom. Mom what? I demanded. Rory's eyes finally met mine, wet and furious. Rory looked at me and said Mom knew, paying them to keep me away. The next 2 days blurred into fluorescent rooms and forms. Officer Kim took statements. Dana gave hers like she'd been practicing for years. Calm, specific, dates and details. I handed over screenshots, receipts, permits, the camera footage, the brass key in its labeled bag. Every time I said my mother, my voice tried to fracture. Mr. Harlan was questioned that night. Word traveled faster than paperwork. By morning, neighbors were outside, walking dogs they didn't own, staring at our driveway like it was entertainment. The realtor called, tight-voiced. Jamie, are we still doing the open house? I can't, I said. It's a crime scene. The sale, my 7-day escape plan, evaporated in one sentence. Rory was released pending investigation, but Dana pushed for a no-contact order, and Officer Kim helped us file it. Rory texted anyway from a new number. You always ruin everything. You didn't even live here. Dana read it and looked like she might throw the phone. They're scared, she said. Let them be. At night, I kept hearing the scrape of a bolt in my skull. I'd close my eyes and see those shelves. Mail, cards, names. My mom's life turned into a tool. On day 3, Officer Kim called again. We obtained a warrant to search the neighboring property, she said. Mr. Harlan's basement matches the access point. We're collecting more evidence. So this didn't start recently, I said. No, she replied. The documents suggest a long pattern. Dana and I sat at the kitchen table afterward, staring at the empty space in the hall closet where the lockbox used to be. Dana's hands trembled for the first time since she arrived. Your mom was scared, she said. I think she got trapped. Like I did, I whispered. Dana nodded, eyes shining. And she made the wrong choice to survive it. 2 days later, Officer Kim returned today my mom's lockbox in an evidence bag, newly sealed. Inside the lockbox, beneath the forged papers, I found Mom's real letter. Mom's letter was 2 pages, written in the careful handwriting she used when she wanted to look in control. It wasn't a neat confession. It was apology and justification braided together. She wrote that after Dad left, money got tight. Mr. Harlan helped with repairs and paperwork. Rory, older and broke, needed opportunities. Then the sentence that made my stomach flip. I let him build the partition. I thought it would keep us safe. Safe. Like locking a child in the dark could be called safety. Dana read over my shoulder, tears sliding down without sound. She was ashamed, she whispered, and scared of him. The practical part came next. We hired a licensed contractor and showed him the police report. He opened the furnace wall legally, photographed everything, and sealed the cut-through to the neighboring property. Seeing it exposed, wood bracing, a jagged hole into someone else's foundation, turned my fear into something simple, a crime scene. We changed every lock. We installed bright motion lights in the basement. For the first time in my life, the stairs down didn't feel like a throat closing. I called my therapist and finally said, I was locked in a room. It wasn't an accident. She didn't try to fix it in a sentence. She just said, that was done to you. And something in me loosened. Rory asked to meet through their public defender. Dana wanted to refuse. I wanted to refuse. But refusing felt like leaving the last door closed. We met at the station with Officer Kim nearby. Rory looked smaller without the hoodie, like someone who'd run out of scripts. I didn't lock you in, Rory blurted. I know, I said. The truth surprised both of us. But you helped keep it going. Rory flinched. Mom was desperate. So was I said steady. And you still chose you. Rory's eyes flashed. What do you want? I want you out of my life, I said. And I want you to tell the truth, on record. Rory stared for a long moment, then nodded once, the smallest surrender. That night, Dana and I sat in the basement with the lights blazing and the air smelling like plain soap, not citrus. I read Mom's letter one more time, slowly, like naming every bruise. When I finished reading Mom's letter aloud, Dana whispered that there was more. Dana slid a second sheet out from behind Mom's letter. Thin paper, folded into quarters, the edges worn like it had been opened and closed 100 times. It wasn't poetry. It was a list. Addresses, dates, short notes in my mother's handwriting, helped with lock, paperwork, mail issue. Harlan said not to worry. Some names had question marks. Some had paid back, written beside them like a grim tally. My first reaction was anger, so hot it made me dizzy. My second was grief, colder and heavier. My mom had been tracking him and still couldn't stop him. Officer Kim confirmed what the list suggested. Patterns, she said. Not just your mother. Not just your home. I used to think fear was a weakness inside me. But mine had been engineered. It kept me away from a place where adults did things they didn't want witnessed. It kept me quiet. It made me easy. Facing it didn't look heroic. It looked like screenshots, receipts, and a notebook full of dates. It looked like calling non-emergency instead of handling it. It looked like letting an inspector open a wall instead of me prying at it in the dark. The most freeing truth was simple. I hadn't been dramatic. I'd been targeted. Over the next week, I sealed every access point with licensed work and printed reports. I changed the locks. I sat in the basement with the lights on until my body stopped treating concrete as a threat. On Dana's last night, we carried the dehumidifier out like it was a body and set it on the curb. We scrubbed the backroom shelves until the metal smelled like soap, not somebody else's plans. Then I put my hand on the door frame and didn't flinch. If you take one practical thing from this, take this: trust small weirdness. Photograph it, screenshot it, pull your utility logs, check permits, and get professionals involved before you confront anyone who benefits from your silence.